Today I'm making a cake stand with 2 pieces of clay. A couple of weeks ago, I made a cake stand with a single piece of clay. This is quite a different method. Be sure to check out that video. Okay, so for today's cake stand, I'm preparing 2 pieces of clay, approximately 1 kilo for the plate, and around about 500 grams for the base. So once again, I'm using an earthenware clay. I think I'm going to glaze these with a white glaze and use Stain Saison glaze. I've even been working on my brushwork, but I'm getting a little ahead here. So I'm making the plate first. I'm centering the larger piece of clay for the plate. So I'm bringing the clay up into a tall cone shape, then pressing it back down. So I'm linking my hands together whenever I can for added stability. So cone up and down until the clay is centered. You'll know it's centered because the clay will feel perfectly smooth under your hands as the wheel rotates. Now that my clay is centered, I can bring the clay out into a large flat disc. The diameter of the clay will be about the diameter of the plate. So now I just push down into the clay a little and bring the clay out to start forming the rim. So I'm running my fingers over the plate from the outer to the inner and back out. I'm compressing the clay and I'm also using a sponge to compress. I also use the straight side of my flexible rib to get a smooth, flat plate. Now a little more sponging, and then I trim a little around the base. So up to now, I've made a very simple plate, keeping in mind I don't need to trim a foot ring on the base. So now I'm going to wire under the plate and set it aside to dry. So now to the base. So I'm going to center the second piece of clay. So why would you make a 2-part cake stand? So one reason for making the cake stand in one piece is that you have more control over the shape of the plate. I found it really quite tedious raising the rim on the one-piece plate after it had dried a little. So now I'm flattening the top of the clay and getting the clay into the right shape to start pushing down into the clay. So here we can push all the way through to the base and then open up a little, keeping in mind that where the clay is sitting on the bat, that will become the base that attaches to the cake stand. So get the height and the right thickness. I'm leaving a little extra thickness in the rim. So of course this is going to end up being the base as we flip this over and attach the plate. So we're making the base upside down. So I've had a bit of a look, it looks okay. And now I'm just going to make sure that the base is truly flat. So now we can wire through the base and we can set it aside with the plate to dry very slowly to leather hard. Great. So now our pieces are leather hard. We're ready to trim and join. So I don't really need to trim the base here. You could, of course, if the shape is not quite right. I'm going to trim the plate. I don't need a foot, so it's just trimming a gentle curve on the base and then flat across. So I'm starting from the center of the plate and just working my way out with the tool. When trimming a plate like this, you could use something to support the center of the plate. A piece of foam would work well. Do this if you notice the center of the plate starting to sink as you trim. I'm also smoothing and compressing the base of my plate. Now let's look at the base. I'm marking out where I want the base to sit. Rotate the wheel and gently mark the inner and outer lines of where the base is going to join the plate. I'm just going to check by placing the base on the plate and just make sure that it's sitting in the right position. So now that I'm sure, I'm just starting to scratch the area that the base is going to sit. I'm using the score and slip method, so scratch and score the surface you want to join. You need to scratch both the plate and the base, where the two surfaces are going to come into contact. It doesn't have to be super tidy. It can be rough. You could use a fork or part of a comb, but I'm using a pin tool. Great, now we're ready to apply slip. Now use ample slip to cover the scored surface on the base of the plate. So I've mixed some clay and water together to make slip. It's about the consistency of thickened cream. Use plenty so it'll work its way into the scratching. Now I've carefully placed the base onto the area that I've slipped. I'm just checking to make sure I've got it in the right position. Now I give it a bit of a jiggle and press. You can wipe away any excess slip that's oozed out. So do you really need to scratch and score to join? Well, if the clay was super soft, then you could press and blend the pieces together without slip. But our pieces would deform very quickly if they were that wet, so it's not really a suitable method here. As it is, I'm still doing a little blending to make sure that I get a good join. I'm doing this on both the inside and the outside of the base. And now a little bit of smoothing and trimming to tidy it up. Now I can turn the stand upright and just finish it a little. Now dry very slowly and evenly. So it'll take a little while to get it dry and then bisqued. In the meantime, I've been practicing some brush strokes for decorating and doing some glaze tests to find the right treatment. I'm really looking forward to finishing these. How did making the cake plate in one piece stack up to the two pieces? So I really don't know yet which plates I'm going to like better, but I do know that I prefer making them in two parts. I felt I had a little more control over the shape of the plate and the rim. Throwing the plate from one piece was fun, but trying to get a rim was a little tedious. I might explore making some in one part with a perfectly flat top, or even perfectly flat but with a little downward flange to give the top a more robust feel. I plan on making a video on the decorating and firing of both the plates, so subscribe to get the latest videos. Of course, comment and like below, and as always, thanks for watching.